I really enjoy Steam demo festivals. You just get to try out large variety of games with no commitment and just generally get a good taste of what best new stuff will be out there in a year or so. True, sometimes it is painful to wait for something you really like, but that is simply how things work. And even more so, often one is willing to give a chance to games that may not look up your ante and try many new genres and approaches to gaming while stepping out of the comfort zone. Because trust me, exploration is simply fun. I have played around 20 or so Steam Next Fest demos, and here is what I found out. I do love me some good real-time strategy, and let me tell you, this Steam Next Fest is packed. And Homeworld 3 was the first one I have instantly tried out. And truth to be told, I ended up feeling a little bit mixed about the game, which is odd because after all, Deserts of Karg was a worthy addition to the franchise. So I really hoped that Blackbird Interactive would step up their game and hit the bullseye with a third mainline game. The demo contains tutorial and demo version of the roguelike mode that can also be played in co-op, and unfortunately I do have plenty of gripes with both. Naturally, tutorial came first, and let me tell you, I was simply disappointed that it was just a basic and boring overview of the features. But good news first, all things that you would expect from a Homeworld game are there. True 3D environments, formations, stances, research, and resource gathering. What has however struck me as odd is how tutorial, unlike in any other Homeworld game, including Deserts of Karg, did not contain any story whatsoever. One of the coolest things about Homeworld is how it sets up the world and the universe of this RTS in the first mission. However, the tutorial and the demo did nothing like that. Instead, it was just a bland overview of game features, and that was kinda sad, because I really like this universe. Second thing that really bothered me is terribly unwieldy camera. Homeworld is a complex 3D real-time strategy, so it would be foregone conclusion that well-executed camera controls would come before things such as roguelike mode. Yet somehow it feels really janky in a near final version of the game, and that's not a good sign. So that is the tutorial, but how is the roguelike mode? Well, I did not enjoy too much. To the game's credit, the gameplay feels like a Homeworld game, and the core gameplay loop is fun and feels familiar. But it is somewhat janky and unfocused. Basically, the missions play out this way. You receive a simple objective, and then the game starts spawning enemies at you. Considering that the game limits you a lot on what ships and how many you can build, but that doesn't apply to enemies, should be already a warning sign. But to make things worse, unwieldy camera makes the game really annoying to play. Honestly, I was really excited for this one, and knowing it's not all that great hurts. And to make things worse, in the middle of the festival it was announced by Blackbird Interactive that there's yet another delay, which means that they are aware that it's not looking good for them either. So I really hope the game ends up being great, but so far I would be cautious about it. But you can try it for yourself in the demo. The next game I tried out is Stormgate, but this one will be quick. Simply because I live in a village and village internet sucks. And because the game resolves all of its gameplay, including skirmish versus AI with help of online servers, well, rest in pieces. It was really laggy and I couldn't really enjoy anything. That being said, I watched some people to play on Twitch and it looks like a great Stracraft clone from ex-Starcraft developers. So I totally recommend to try this one out, it looks really fun and enjoyable. Yet another game that I have tried out, and for me it's the winner of the entire Steam Next Fest, is Godsworn. And it's an absolute and unexpected surprise. At first I wasn't so sure about it, simply because medium AI has kicked my ass, but more I played, more I fell in love with this game. This is a fantastic piece, inspired mainly by Warcraft 3, but truth to be told, it is so much more, or less. Let's just say that it's different and very unique. Where to begin? The game looks absolutely adorable. The animations are excellent, I love the art style, and the music suit is awesome too, but truth is, a real-time strategy that doesn't control well is not a good one. But damn, Godsworn just nails everything. Pathfinding is great, controls are snappy and contain all the staples from real-time strategies. Unit aggro could be tuned a little bit, but overall, the game just feels amazing to play. It gave me similar vibes to Age of Empires 4 because Age of Empires 4 has also surprised me greatly in how fun the game is to play. But unlike Age of Empires 4, this project is not funded by Microsoft and is built on Unity by 2 developers, which is absolutely insane. Currently there's only 1 faction and 2 heroes to pick, but trust me when I say Godsworn is really fun to play and it contains a lot for a demo. Plenty of multiplayer maps that can also be played in skirmish if you are antisocial and with bad internet like me, as well as a challenge horde mode. So I highly recommend it to any real-time strategy fan and even to non-strategy fans if you wanna try it out. So my personal favorite and winner, it came a little bit too soon, but you know, that happens to me a lot. Yet another great real-time strategy is called Global Conflagration. I will admit it looks somewhat dated, but plays like a great mix of Command and Conquer and Company of Heroes. It contains a simple tutorial, skirmish and pretty awesome army painter. I'm a big fan of that one. On the top of it all, demo contains all 4 factions that seem to be in-game, so that's neat. And even though the art style of each faction seems to be all over the place, like some look from an entirely different universe than others, there is nothing more fun than blasting enemies with a giant cannon placed on the top of Zeppelin. It's just awesome. Look, I don't see this one blowing up, but it's a neat and very much playable real-time strategy and I'm looking forward to it. There is however one small criticism and it is
use of AI voices. Hopefully they are just a placeholder.
Well, with Nuke Them All, I'm not so sure. It looks fun, but it plays horrible. Let's just say that it's an extensively simplified real-time strategy, and I spent 10 minutes looking for this game on App Store because it plays like a mobile game, and it even looks like a mobile game. But to no avail, I could not find it, so perhaps it's on PC only. But the issues of this game are that it's really hard to read the battlefield and the controls are really awful, which for a game that grossly simplifies real-time strategy shouldn't be a problem, you know? The buildings in this game produce their units without your input at all. Your units occupy vehicles also on their own, you cannot tell them not to occupy the vehicles, and also the units just kind of do whatever they want whenever they're near enemies. So I would just expect this game to play itself if it's so automated, but it's not very good. So my recommendation for this game would be probably to release it on the phones. I think it could be solid time waster there, but it's not very good for PC, definitely not in the current state. But for PC, it's a no-no for me, so I'm sorry, but it's how it is. So Synergy is a city builder. It clearly shoots to look like a Frostpunk-like game, but in the desert, and I even made a great guide about Frostpunk recently, so check that out. And truth to be told, I felt very confused by Synergy, because it basically takes what Frostpunk does, but removes the simplicity and multiplies everything that Frostpunk does on every single front. So instead of Frostpunk's 4 resource types, this game has, I don't know, 25 maybe, And each building which produces resources has several steps how to get those resources to your storage, and you have to build the storage, and you have to build it near the place where you have to place all the things, and your guys constantly move things around, and you have to have enough guys to move them around, and you have to constantly click on all the items you want to gather, and then you have to change them, and then you have to change them back, and it's just a vast amount of busy work. And I kinda get what they were shooting for, but instead of feeling complex, the game is basically a chore simulator. The snappy gameplay from Frostpunk that made me addicted to it in the first place is replaced with tedium, but maybe they weren't shooting for Frostpunk at all. Nevertheless, the game needs a lot of work to feel fun to play. So I would totally recommend you to try the Wandering Village instead, because that's kind of a similar feeling game, but unlike this one, it's really fun, and I think it's even more unique than this. Pacific Drive has mesmerized me since the first trailer dropped, with mystery and atmosphere. I would call it Stalker on wheels, and I think I'm not original in that. And truth to be told, the initial tutorial segment made it feel like that. There is a zone, weird anomalies pop up all over the place, and a mysterious artifact, which is your car, ties you to the zone and creates an inevitable urge to travel there. So thank God it's a car and not a tricycle. Water drops on your windshield. The lights flicker. Radio stops playing. Then you barely escape a deadly anomaly, and as a fortune would have it, friendly voices guide you to a repair depot and place of solace. And from there on, the demo somewhat disappointed me. But to preface why, well, let me just say that I'm not a fan of survival games. And by survival games, I mean games where you manage 20 health bars while collecting all the garbage in your vicinity. And that is exactly what this game seems to be about. You have a health bar, all your equipment has a health bar, items you turn into salvage have a health bar, and your car has about 15 health bars on its individual parts. And through this, while I still adore the atmosphere and occasional tension, the focus on constant gathering and health bar management broke the pacing too much for me. To make it worse, the game is clearly built on the idea of being roguelike with plenty of meta progression, which equals more farming. And that is a bummer, at least for me. But maybe not so much for you. The game looks really solid otherwise, so you know, I totally recommend to give it a try. Do you like Euro Truck Simulator? Is your joystick collecting dust? Then Star Trucker is for you. It's a trucker game, but your truck is a spaceship. However, for me, well, let's just say that I played this with mouse and keyboard, and that was a really bad idea for this game. But at least it created this really fun moment where I had to park my cargo in the delivery space by continually ramming it into it until velocity took care of my problem. Is this an immersive sim? So yeah, the game is pretty cool, well produced, but second job games are simply not for me, but maybe you'll like it, so you know, Star Trucker. Oh man, I'm fairly certain that this game will be invisible to many people. So, first and foremost, naming your game Ereban Shadow Legacy, it's not a good game to remember, let alone recognize. Then the main character and the sidekicks are kinda shady, not too interesting, and considering that the initial part of the tutorial is overshadowed by unnecessary menu tasks, will mean that most people will drop this little gem before it really gets good. That is right, this game is a spark, and to be dazzled by its dark beauty, one has to get to the actual first level, which is just fantastic stealth goodness. because while base movement is somewhat underwhelming, the Shadow Ball ability makes up for it in spades. Basically, as long as you are in a shadow, and there are no vines, they are used like a little bit of the invisible wall, and you have enough energy, you can become this shadowy ball that moves fast, cannot be seen by enemies, and sticks to literally any surface, allowing for unprecedented freedom of movement. And once I learned to use it properly, the whole stealth sandbox opens up greatly, making the whole game thoroughly enjoyable for any stealth genre fans. What also helps is very capable AI that, unlike in many newer games, looking at you, Ubisoft, isn't blind at all and very capable at catching you once you are spotted. And the takedowns are an absolute cherry on the top. They are very snappy and versatile.
Did you hear that? I've located the arrow. Did you hear that?
The game just plays really well, and for a stealth game, that is all I ever need. So highly recommend it. It's 20 minutes demo, so I don't know, try it out if you find it interesting. So this game is just not for me. It looks like a fun little rally game, but I just wanted to point out that this game has this really funny feature where if you fail, this Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonator just has a lot of banter to tell you, and because I was messing up all the time, I was constantly being called a doofus by a German guy, so that was really neat. It was very fun. So, you know, drive rally, if you're rally enthusiasts, you'll probably like it.
We're not testing Deutsche Elektrik's crash resistance. We're fluid. We're supposed to be as precise as a cuckoo clock. We're not on the field started break.
So Geometry Survivor was a game that got me a little bit interested because I really like Geometry Wars. Though this game is nothing like it and it's basically Vampire Survivors clone, so I don't like those, so next. Hotloop, on the other hand, I kinda liked it. So while it is wave defense game with upgrades, it's really enjoyable because the game simulates actual velocity in space. And not just that, if there is a planet, it mixes that with the simulation of the gravity of that orbiting planet, and that can be really fun. So this is a nice little game, nothing too extensive, but it's pretty cool. Toyshire immediately piqued my interest because I really like toy soldiers, however I did not enjoy it all that much. To give the game a credit, visual representation is exceptional. But the rest, and mostly I'm talking about gameplay, is kinda generic tower defense. What doesn't help is that camera is fixed in Kevin's view, in case you don't know, you are Kevin, and Kevin also has a lot of stuff to say, and I mean, shut up, Kevin. And this really annoying child music plays loop in the background. So maybe this game is not meant for me. It's maybe for the children, but who knows? I didn't like it all that much. But you know, the game looks decent, so I mean, you can try it out. And now let me welcome roguelikes, because roguelikes, they are very plentiful when it comes to these Steam Next Fests and Steam Summer Fests and whatever. And there are always dozens, if not hundreds, of roguelikes. And look, I get it, it's a very popular genre and fairly easy to make. But at the same time, I'm kind of done with the constant Slay the Spire clones. So I basically mostly looked into the games that seem to do, at least on surface, something original. And trust me, there are good ones, so let's get into roguelikes. I kept them for the end because there's just so many of them. So Emberward is pretty interesting. It's a roguelike tower defense with fondness for Tetris shapes. In other words, you expand your tower roster as you progress through the map, and when defending you are creating your own route for the enemies with the help of Tetris shapes. It's pretty fun, I like the visuals, it plays well, it's nothing exceptional, but I'd say pretty solid tower defense game, so totally try it out if you like the genre. Epic Auto Towers, on the other hand, also surprised me, and in a good way, because the game looks kinda shoddy at best, but it's really enjoyable, and the game really puts your game knowledge and abilities, whether it's the ability to create good tower composition or plan ahead to test. So think of it as an auto battler, but your guys are the towers, and the win condition is that your main tower cannot die more than 2 times, because then it is over. After each round, towers respawn, and you keep enhancing your build with help of rotating roster of tower cards with different effects, synergies and rarities. It ended up being highly addictive, but at the same time, there is no meta progression, and that is by the way good. I really hate the constant need for meta progression, and as an advantage to this, the game is really balanced, and the challenge is just, I would say, perfect, and that's very good. So I loved this one and I can only recommend it. And Balatro, if it wasn't for Godsworn, oh my, this one would be a winner because it's absolutely phenomenal. What seems at first as a single player poker turns basically into cheating simulator, as you evolve your deck and enchant bonuses that are totally ridiculous. Your score is becoming totally unbelievable, and let's say you kinda have to do that because the game kinda expects you, and you can, let's say, win just by playing pairs, or sometimes you can win by playing one-offs, because this game really allows you to build your cards in such way. And it's very clever when it comes to the whole progression as you play through different levels and how you manage your deck and upgrade all the cards. But, you know, let's just say that I suggest that you play it instead of me explaining it, because unless you literally hate cards or roguelikes, just go and play it. Balatro is really good, it's really fun, I love the visual style, I love the music, and I love the gameplay of it. So Breachway is a nice little evolution of Faster Than Light. It adds the Slay the Spire like card rotation, but changes things around enough to make them interesting. For example, your energy stays, and you can pick what kind of energy you want to generate each round. Cards have cooldown, so that's kind of interesting too. So sometimes it is much better to pass, and sometimes you ought to play them right away so you can rotate them for as much DPS as possible. There are also faction relations, that's a new thing, which based on your actions change how the world reacts to you. So a shop could become an encounter or vice versa. There are also little gripes that I had with Breachway, but you know, they're just minor things here and there, and overall the game is solid, so I recommend that. Vertical Kingdom is yet another interesting game. While it looks like Slay the Spire, it's more of a puzzle city builder. The demo won't let you too far, but basically you manage and balance out different resources in order to build big enough city. And as you place new buildings, ideally in a clever way to maximize the gains, you unlock new ones that are, after purchasing, added to your building roster. Occasionally you change what type of cards you want to receive, and that is it. I like it. It is a nice little relaxing game and fairly enjoyable. So Diceomancer is kind of odd. While it is basically Slay the Spire, I like the visual pitch enough to test it out. And the game has few cool gimmicks, such as ability to change any number in the game by rolling a dice, or discarding cards to get specific mana resource. That being said, the game lacks that refined number game that makes Slay the Spire the top dog in the category. But hey, you can give it a try if it caught your eye. And that is all, my friends. Personally, I was very happy with this Steam Fest. I'll probably try more games, but I won't make a video about it. Sorry, my time is limited. And I love good real-time strategy, and there were plenty, so that was really fun. So, you know, if you played something, you could share it here, you could recommend some games too, because there's a lot, and I totally did not cover everything. Also, there's a little update on the channel, because if you watch this far, you probably may like some of my older videos. They are like these long retrospectives, and trust me, I'm working on those, but they are very time intensive, so eventually something will come out, but until that, peace.